All right. So, Liz E., your boy, Charles Barkley, is talking crazy again. Is this truth, lies, or shenanigans?
These are terrible shenanigans.
Horrible.
Terrible, terrible.
Terrible.
So we're talking about Sir Charles Barkley, in former NBA star, Hall of Famer, current NBA analyst on TNT, but he also does a lot of basketball commentary as well. So on Inside the NBA last week, before a game, they got into the conversation about COVID vaccines, and Charles Barkley made the statement that he thought athletes, and not just NBA athletes, athletes across the board, professional athletes in this country, whether it be NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, they should get preferential treatment when it comes to access to the COVID vaccine because they pay more in taxes. And his co-hosts, Kenny Smith, Shaquille O'Neal, Ernie, they all kind of disagree with him, but in my opinion, they didn't disagree with
They
him
didn't hard
enough.
enough. I agree with you.
But my question to the panel and also to our guests, how do you feel about this? And I think obviously I think that a lot of people are going to be in agreement with this, but Charles did bring up a good point in the tax argument in that there's a special tax. I didn't say I agree with the point,
Okay, go ahead.
but there is a point that he's trying to make. One, Charles Barkley does not articulate his ideas very well.
That's true.
He's not a good public speaker. So a lot of times when he's trying to get a point across, he gets lost or he trips up on what he's
Says it
saying.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there is a jock tax in this country for professional athletes, which means that in addition to paying a regular tax on your income, if you are an athlete, you also pay a tax in the state that you go to play a game.
Mm.
So let's say, for example, you play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You play in this, your team is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to and play a game in a state outside of Pennsylvania, if that state collects income tax, they can also tax you as well. So that's what
Really?
he's talking about when
Okay.
he says that they pay more in taxes. But there's a lot that goes into that for the common person because the percentage based on income still isn't fair.
For me,
So
the
again,
problem was the words preferential treatment. That's where he kind of slipped up for me.
of course, yes, yes. And even when, Kenny Smith brought in the economics of it,
Mhm.
Charles kept saying, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about taxes.
But the
Why do
taxes,
we pay taxes?
right? With money, the more money you make, the more taxes you pay.
You don't.
Right.
So
He's not paying his taxes with heads of cattle anymore.
exactly,
Maybe he is.
it's
Maybe he
not
is.
the dowry. So my question to the panel is like, in the big picture, what do you feel? How do you feel about his statements?
Who do you want to start with?
We can start with Rob.
Cool. Careful, Sir Charles. Your privilege is showing. The vaccine really needs to be made available to the essential workers before the entertainers, regardless of their tax bracket or the additional taxes that they have to pay. Medical workers, educators, grocery, retail, frontline workers, the trainers on the team, people who are doing the maintenance on the stadiums. These people need to get it in tandem also if you're going to prop up the entertainment industry. But these are entertainers. Um, and when we're talking about the frontline workers, they're exposed to countless selfish individuals who refuse to mask up, and that's daily. Um, yeah, I like these. To me, these are the people that need it most. Those who are working two jobs or more just to get by. If you're getting paid millions of dollars to play a game that you love, I'm sorry, it doesn't give you any additional privileges. The privilege is that you are getting to live this life already. You are leading a life of privilege. And if you have to sit back for a couple of years while this pandemic flattens out,
And let's point out
then
they have the privilege of getting like these regular tests, COVID tests, the rapid tests. They get them every day. They have the privilege of being able to pay for special treatments. Like I'm sure A few of them probably have access to President Trump's special cocktail. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gianni.
Special no, I like that Kenny Smith, I think his name was, posed the question: should players get like should they get special treatment when it comes to life or death? So I mean, that question should have just been the theme of the whole thing. It's like it should of course be only set for the people that need it first. If this was like a scenario where there was only 10,000 people on Earth, are you gonna get it because you made more money in your life than I could because you know how to dribble a ball? Like it doesn't make sense. But I understand why he would say that because they're in that atmosphere and they feel like as sports people they feel like these are, so to speak, the gods of this field. So I can understand why they would say the players should be the first batch and all of that. But I feel like if we're speaking societal, like all of the fields, we're not saying like um musicians are Drake and Jay-Z and Beyonce should be the first because they
They're rich.
provide so much. You know what I mean? It's like the same of that. It's to the same likeness of that. So I do feel like
The whole Trump
there should not
mentality.
be a hierarchy. Yeah. There shouldn't
So
be a hierarchy of vaccinations, except if it's necessity, if you need it.
So, Lizzie alluded to this, but let's be clear who we're dealing with Charles Barkley. Of course, he's one of the 50 greatest basketball players. Well, he's on the list. I don't know if I believe he's one of the 50 greatest Anyway, he's been arrested multiple times.
Talk about your sports knowledge right now. So yes, keep going. Keep
He's
going.
been arrested multiple times. He was cited for spitting on an innocent girl in a crowd in 1991 when he missed spitting on someone else who was calling him racial slurs. He agreed with the Zimmerman verdict. He threatened to hit a female reporter in 2019, claiming he was just trying to make a joke. He defended the cops over the killing of Breonna Taylor, speaking in favor of the cops and saying her death is not comparable to some of the other recent deaths that happened in the country due to police brutality. And then he threw a man out of a window in a bar after he claimed he threw ice at him. Also, in 2014, Barkley said that unintelligent blacks in American society are brainwashed to put street cred ahead of success. Not that I totally disagree with that, but the point is, this is the person we're dealing with. So when he says something stupid like this, Lizzie alluded to the fact that sometimes he has these ideas and these thoughts in his head, and they just don't come out the way he was thinking them per se. And they come out really offensive. So
yeah.
But first and foremost, get back to that quote.
Which is all wrong still.
But get back to that quote that you just highlighted that he made about unintelligent blacks.
Right.
Who is he actually referring to there? Like, does he consider himself to be an intelligent black man?
Great point. Because he is not.
He did not graduate from Auburn. Again, he went.
Oh, he didn't graduate.
He did not graduate from Auburn. If you listen to him, that's not really intelligent conversation that he's putting out into the atmosphere. So I wouldn't necessarily consider Charles Barkley an intelligent black. He's a rich black man. He's a black man who has had a lot of success in his field, but that doesn't mean that he's intelligent, that he's smart.
Yeah.
And Charles Barkley has always considered himself or represented himself as a Republican. There was a time where he's from Alabama. So there was a time where he was talking about running for governor of Alabama, and he was going to do so as a Republican because Republicans are rich. But Charles Barkley comes from very humble beginnings. He wasn't middle class growing up. He wasn't upper class. He would have been considered, lower class. And so if you think about it, growing up Charles Barkley in Alabama, if the COVID virus had come to fruition back when you were growing up, you wouldn't have had access to it based on your criteria.
Mm-hmm.
The athletes of that time would have gotten first dibs before you. But also consider this. He's talking about, okay, because these athletes make more money, even though he says it's not about money, these athletes make more money, therefore pay more in taxes than the average person. So do team owners.
That's right.
The
They make
owners
more
of
than
these
the. That's
schools
true.
make way more than these athletes, so they would get first dibs over the athletes that you were talking about. Like, we got to be careful about the rhetoric that we use when we
Yeah.
insert economics into medical procedures, into safety issues. Because right now he's sounding like
Yeah.
a very racist, very prejudiced white Republican who hates poor people. And I'm not just saying poor Black people here. Charles Barkley is talking about,
Poor
in this scenario, poor people in
Poor
general.
people.
Yeah.
Poor people are the ones who are at risk most right now, especially in certain cities, in certain states in this country. And he's saying, forget them. They po. They not paying what they need to pay in taxes, so they shouldn't be first in line for this medical treatment, even though the numbers are high in their area. They are dying. They are on ventilators. They are the ones that are in hospitals. Even though, yeah, we have athletes who are testing positive, and that's because of league failures.
Yeah.
Athletes are testing positive. Athletes are experiencing some symptoms, but it's not what we're seeing in communities that
Right.
are being hit hard.
Yep.
So you want these privileged athletes who have access to the best medical care in
And the
this
relative
country
immunity. It's not immunity,
to.
but their symptoms. They tend to, the healthier you are, the more symptom free you tend to be.
So you're saying you want these
And
people to
recovery is
have
easier.
better access, to have more privilege to a COVID vaccine than the average person who could be in need. Now you're talking like a very wealthy
Mm-hmm.
right winger
Oh,
who thinks that the more money you make, the better your life should be across all fronts in this country,
all right.
especially in terms of access.
All right.
And I'm
Yeah.
just like, Charles, the more you sit up there and talk this clown stuff, the more you sound like the person that you say you aren't.
Let's close this
Yep.
out. Oh, Rob B, you got a couple of tell him, Rob. Hand claps online. Some people like what you had to say. Looks like
Tell him,
Ade
Rob.
and Zuleika. All right. Kevin Thaxton says, "Kick rocks, Barkley." Uh, uh, Derry Winter says, "We may be seeing them even as they walk down MLK Boulevard." Not sure what she's referring to. Ade says, "Barkley is off the deep end." Derry Winter says, "He has not changed. His comments and behaviors are not new."
No, they're
Uh,
not. I've interviewed Charles Barkley before. Like, they're not new. Like, the first time you meet him and you talk to him, he's funny. He's personable, he's charming. But then when you start to listen to the nonsense that comes out of his mouth, you're just like, okay, you're the C word that I can't say on this show because Neo gets offended, but that's what you are. And when we talk
Neo.
TikTok gets offended too, by the way, so I don't want to get kicked
and
off.
when we talk about athletes paying taxes, let's not talk about the number of athletes that have been taken to task by the IRS because they don't pay taxes. Like,
Yeah.
let's be clear. There are a
Mm-hmm.
lot of athletes that are cheating the government right now.
Sherry Blaine Priest says, "Robbie Rock said it well. Frontline workers and people with compromised immune systems need vaccine ahead of anyone." All right, let's close it out on that. Great hot topics, guys. Great hot topics.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.